like to wish you should drink lots of Castlemaine 4X, which is the Australian main beer. It's to say in Australia, there's nothing like Castlemaine 4X.
Chaim.
Singers, the Frankels and ourselves, to the last of the farewells to the Telsners. We hope this will be the one that they will remember the most, and that task rests on your shoulders to make sure that's the case. As Rashi famously says, "Sheyasiyat tzadik min hamokom oseh roshi, shebizman shehatzadik hovir, hu hador, hu hazira, hu hadora." And that's the reason why we're here tonight, to acknowledge and reflect the contribution that the Telsner family has made over the years. They've been in London, not just London, but many other places in the UK. Other people will speak about the many contributions they have made, and I definitely mean they, as my wife will tell you that a man is only part of the picture without his better half. And indeed, the truth is that it will take a lot of effort by a lot of people to pick up the many tasks that they have handled, and that alone is a measure of the gap they will leave behind. Regrettably, the one thing that can't be adopted and replaced by others is the personal impact they've made on the lives of a large number of people, and that's the real rosham that they will be felt after they have left for Melbourne. I saw in the news this week that the area around Melbourne is suffering from one of the worst forest fires in its history. So much so that the state of Victoria has appealed to the US and Canada for volunteer firefighters. So it seems that the Telsners will have a dual role, fanning the flames of Ruchnius and lending a hand to douse the fires of Gashmius. Our families have been able to share a lot over the years, and their departure from London will leave a gap that will be hard to bridge. As many of you know, I've been extremely fortunate to share in a tour of many Masechtas of Gemara over the years in our daily Kvias. Although, as the Gemara states in Shabbos and Daf Tzadi Gimel, there is the inyan of Maaseh Ein Bo Mamash, meaning that something which is a non-essential part of an action is not considered chayiv for the action. I have to admit that probably applies to me as well, as my involvement has largely been one of the page turner. Having been something of a hanger-on in the Telsner household, I've seen over the years how the home has been a focal point for visitors, strangers wanting to be put up for a few nights, telephone callers from all over the world with strange shilas, Rabbonim wanting to be given an eitzah, or just asking for directions in a sefer, and all treated with patience, respect, and Ahavas Yisrael. The Hayom Yom for Beis Shvat refers to a comment by the Tzemach Tzedek on a Maimer of the Alter Rebbe, saying that each time he repeated the Maimer, there was new light, on which the Rebbe Rashab said, or, light is always the same, but meor, a luminary, is always something new. One can truly say that it is an appropriate way to describe Rabbi Telsner. He is a meor, meaning that he's a person not only from whom we can learn something, but whose influence can light fires in other people, and who in turn can all pass on some of that flame and Yiddish Brenkheit to others. We're going to keep the speeches short tonight and informal, so that everybody can have a Labor Day evening, and to give the family a send-off they will remember. And so on that note, I want to conclude by asking our first speaker of this evening, Rabbi Hertz, to say a few words, both as mashpia, neighbor, and a friend. Rabbi Hertz, please.
It's, I thought that I'll be the first speaker, so it's an advantage in a way. Because nobody will speak before you, and therefore, whatever you prepare, you'll be able to say. And if Philip told me I just want to speak very short, in a very short already took almost half of my speech. So that what we can nevertheless, it's there are enough things to say, enough many things to speak here. Rabbi Telsner, Philip is a Freiman, his name, yeah? Rabbi Telsner mentioned that I'm a neighbor. In a way, we're neighbors, 100%. In a neighbor, you know, basically the idea of neighbors, that they help each other. In small things also. If you need something in the house, you work with the neighbor. In my field, as a whole, as a yeshiva, I'm also a neighbor. Give you an example, we're learning more in yeshiva. I need a very special sefer, a real sefer. Yichtav Miliyov. Sefer, other people know, not everybody. And I thought I need the sefer, Yichtav Miliyov, well, I got the sefer. So I thought, Rabbi Telsner, I phoned him up. Said, do you have the Yichtav Miliyov? They said, yes, certainly I have the Yichtav Miliyov. Elio al-Fandri was a big rabbi in Turkey, he was in Turkey. So I still have the sefer in my house and I have to give him back before he goes away. Please don't trust the mic. But it's not only this forum, which is a great help. Basically, the person sometimes said, "Drück mal Stein in der Echel." The person comes to ask a Shaila. It's good to discuss with another role. So in the same room, Rabbi Telsner, he has a Shaila, discuss with me, I discuss with him. So in this respect, I'm certainly missing. But today, Baruch Hashem, when I came from Australia to New York, to the yeshiva, it was about close to 50 years ago, to 770. So I remember I wanted to make a phone call to my parents. So they told me I have to book the phone call for 3 minutes. It cost me $20 for 3 minutes. And then I didn't make it. Because I didn't know how to book it. So today, Baruch Hashem, if I have to speak to Rabbi Telsner, he has a shayla, and I have a shayla, you know my number, 458, so, and you'll give me your number in Australia. And you'll be able to discuss the shayla. So in this respect, we miss each other once you face to face, but certainly you can go and discuss and make this. The Gemara says, Afilu reish gavrusim mishma et ha'mamaneh. Means to say, every appointment, important appointment, when a Shumai, the Eibishter appoints the person. There it speaks about person is in charge of giving water on the canal to provide water to people. It's also a certain appointment when a Shumai comes on the Shumai. I saw such an appointment, which I know the killer in Australia. In fact, I know the killer. I know 50 years ago. I can imagine from 50 years till now. A huge killer. To be a Dayan in such a killer, such an important killer, is a tremendous responsibility. But a person gets out in the Shmaya. I would say, in a Remez maybe it's in a Shmayim, that his name is Tzvi. The Gemara said about Tzvi, Eretz Yisrael is called Eretz Tzvi, the land of the deer, the Tzvi. Why is it called Eretz Tzvi? The Gemara explains that basically, in the time the Besamidji stood, there was many people there, millions and millions of people. The Gemara said, how is it possible to be a minister in such a small country? And the Gemara says, Eretz Tzvi, the same as the Tzvi, the deer, when he's alive, the Poshit Vegomit, his skin is stretching when it's needed, and it's not needed, it shrinks. The same Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael is such a land, when people were there, it was needed, it stretched itself. And therefore, some unfortunately say you see the difference in Eretz Yisrael between cold and hot is small distances. Why is it small distances? It's fast, it's very hard. Because basically it's far. It used to be far. But now it's smaller. Eretz Tzvi, the Poshit Vegomit. In Aseret Rabbi Telsner is called Tzvi. The Poshit Vegomit comes to a new position, a very important position. And the Siyat Ishmael obviously is there. And some people say you rise to the challenge. But Eretz Hatzvi, the Poshet V'Gomit, the person has the strength, Hashem will have the strength in this respect. Usually I tell you, it's a little difficult to speak Bachsidish Mesibe. This person was like this, the person was like this, you know how it is. Or I speak about Rabbonis, and it includes also this in your name. They say a Maise, two Maises I'll tell you, in connection with this event. Rav told me, a Maise, that at 5 o'clock on Kippur in the morning, somebody knocks on his door. At 5 o'clock, somebody knocks on Yom Kippur, you go there, you're scared, you know, what's ever out at the door? Woman is coming, the lady, yes, how can I help you? You know, my husband didn't feel good he already ate in Kippur. If he didn't feel good, he ate good. So how can I help you now? I want to know if he's allowed to eat now, to continue eating. So the Rav told me this thing. I asked the doctor. She said, what? I wrote our doctor 5 o'clock? I wrote, we can go 5 o'clock. The doctor go 5 o'clock. The Maise is a true story. And she was right in a way. The woman was right in a way. She wasn't wrong. Our doctor can't go 5 o'clock, but I always have responsibility. But even 5 o'clock, he has to be there, he's there. He is obviously not annoyed on the person which comes. He feels very happy that he has the schus to have an idea. And it tells us really. There's a tremendous, this 5 o'clock is every minute of the day. When I see our neighbors, the good neighbors, and I see people are coming for various things, other sort of men, all kind of people. Whether myself, as I am a rock, when I'm coming to discuss with the university and learning, or people that come for somebody for bread, and somebody for clothes, and somebody for this, and somebody for this. Chamoyer di gesagt, but Moshe Rabbeinu said the same thing. Why did Moshe Rabbeinu was appointed as Moshe Rabbeinu? Because he carried it from far land. To carry it on his hand, to bring it to the flock back. So this is one point that I want to make. The next point I would like to make, which this is, Amalisen, with the Tzemach Tzedek. What is the koyach of a rov? What's the chassidische rov? Two meistens Tzemach Tzedek. Tzemach Tzedek, what's the Shabbos, we're allowed to say such things, Tzemach Tzedek, chassidische meistens. This is the chassid. Said that once a person came on a shayla, on a chicken, and the rov of the Lubavitch, the Tzemach Tzedek wasn't the rov, because he didn't have time, so there was a rov. He was considered as a person came to the rov, he asked the shayla on the chicken, the rov said it's treif. So the Tzemach Tzedek later, the Tzemach Tzedek called the rov and said, why you made it treif? He started to argue with him. He said, this one for here, it's Masha the Taz, the Shachman, the first person who speaks about such a deal, Masha, it's kosher. So the rov thinks, he says, I am the Rovi and I'm saying it's treif. Okay, so the Rov left, so the Tzemach Tzedek says, the Rov is right. There is a certain person, or later he says, which for him it's much mistake. But the Petach, listen to it. The Rov didn't know it. Of in Hashemayim, they gave him the strength to say the right thing. This is one Ma'aseh of Tzemach Tzedek. The second Ma'aseh of Tzemach Tzedek is that the Tzemach Tzedek once somebody came to us for Shiloh, the Tzemach Tzedek looks in the chicken and he said, the Rov looks on the chicken and says, the Taz says it's kosher, the Shach says it's treif, the Boreita, the Rambam, this. So the Tzemach Tzedek said, what is a Rov? A Rov doesn't see the chicken. When it comes to the chicken, he sees the Shach, he sees the Taz, he sees the Rambam, he sees the Torah, he doesn't see a chicken, he sees different. Das is a Rov. What's the chassidische Rov? Achsidische Rov is that he sees the world, he sees the rose. That's Achsidische Rov. You see godliness, you see the world, you see godliness, you see the Lakus, you see the world, you see the Lakus. What I want to tell you is Achsidische Rov, but there is Achsidische Rov. The family is Achsidische Mishpocha, Tara, Kinder, Baruch Hashem, Mamish. Parents, it's a great loss for him, there's no question about it. It's unfortunate, I don't know how it worked out. That Rabbi Telsner didn't become the chief of our field, but upon him, maybe they asked him, he didn't want, the difficulty of the job. If you have to be a Chassidish Rov, it's not easy. But upon him, it's a loss for England, and it's again for Australia. And presumably, Australia, since speak about Bilan Nitzutzes, the elements in Nitzutzes of Kedusha, the sparks of Kedusha, Australia needs a special koyach. You know, to have the sparks of Kedusha. So when Hashemayim, Dev Shem Sava Sibes, and we are missing about Telsner, and not missing about Hashem, and so on. The Gemara in Pirkei Avos it said, "Kol sheruach abiyes noicha emenu, ruach hamokim noicha emenu." It's interesting, some soifer. The some soifer brings the Machloek B'Sham B'Shil. The Gemara here says, and I mentioned it a few times, but it's every time I mention it, I see it in the light again. There was an argument with B'Sham B'Shil for years, till the Yotze Basel came a voice from heaven. Aloch came to and the most is after the B'Sham HaChalif Yitfred, B'Sham was a sharper, but B'Sham is noichim v'aluvim, they're nice, they're kind. So I first, which is nice and kind, you'll be a big rock. First, which is nice and kind, Aloch will be like him. Does that make sense? What kind of upshot is it? It's a beautiful word. It says, B'Shamai was sharp, said L'Chalifi. And B'Shamai, when they had an opinion, the opinion is an opinion, they didn't change it easily, the opinion. They didn't even listen carefully to the other's opinion. The Siddur is Noichim Varu, the Siddur is very kind, they listen very, very carefully to B'Shamai saying. Even after listening, they decided this is how it's the right thing, the Aloha, therefore Aloha Kemoisam. Similar to the Aloha de Bestoya. Beautiful word. What I want to tell you, everybody knows. In a person who's about people ask me about Telsner B'Matzliach. I was 90% B'Matzliach, because it's Noichim V'aluvim. Noichim V'aluvim has a special Siyata D'Shmaya. Noichim V'aluvim has a special strength. Noichim V'aluvim is a keli for the brocha. So therefore, a brocha to the Telsner's family, that they should be Matzliach, that she have Siyata D'Shmaya, שיהיה בהצלחה לעניונים, בגשמס וברוכניס, in every aspect of the life, there should be simches. In the age of the life, that all of us should have the simche. Maybe I don't know, it's possible, we have to believe it, as soon as they're going, maybe Mashiach will come together, we'll be as a soul. But I want to be in the, I asked the organizers, he didn't realize Mashiach can come. Waarom begint het? You're right. I said that before. I said 40 level, this other world does. So maybe thank you for the organizers, they did it, and the other arrangements which was not there. In the age of the Rabbintag, the teacher should be bestand the Simcha von Satan, should be Abbas Yisrael, and to Abbas Yisrael is a kid to Abbas Hashem, and to then become the people of the Gears Mashiach Tzidkim B'Meir.
6 years ago, on a wintry evening in Gateshead, in a clandestine meeting in the house of Reb David Potash, when we heard there was going to come a spy in the camp all the way from London. I'm not sure if it's the same guy, but it was a charismatic, energetic young rabbi with a beautiful golden face, very a bit shorter than it is now. Grew a bit since then, and the color has changed. And he was coming to give a Tanya shir, which went like this. Tanya was saying, Pesach in the Nidder, Zog the Shagas Arya, and the Akishos Nigla for a short sight. followed by 2 hours of, he has a very intimate knowledge of the Misnagdische Welt, its leaders, its foibles, and Bechudu, Medailo Nevin. I'm not sure whether we ever got to Chassidus at the end of the day, at the end of the evening, but one thing was for sure. This was a Chut HaMekasher, this was a thread which connected us to the Rebbe, and he left the minor with us, Yodai to Moscow, which I still have. I think it's still your minor. I think your minor with Yodai, if you want to know where it is, it's linked by near. Yodai to Moscow. What? That's the second one you lost. We should buy you one. And this midah of going out, traveling, then it must have been, how long did it take you to get there, Tzvi? 6 hours to get from London there in those days. And not only there's many people in this room who are made, I was just speaking to Rabbi Ruben Lee before, and others living in Ores, others such as myself. The rabbi has traveled to many pinas and yidoches to visit, give shiurim, be machazek yichidim. Single people. We're not talking about being a rabbi v'kehillah now and feeling on our ganze dot. I'm talking about the yichidim. The single people, to go for a shiur where there's 2 people, 3 people, 1 person even. Alachas kama b'kama, to give a chizuk to the Yungalite themselves. This is a young man and his wife who's given tremendous chizuk, brought neshamas to the Rebbe, given chizuk to, and continued chizuk to those people for many years. And I'd like to say a personal, on behalf of myself, on behalf of many others in this room, I could bow to give thank you, a yasher koyach, especially for that. Ali Potter of the Mechaveri Elometev Bar Halacha. We've imported, there's been imported this evening, Gora Choshev Arov, a chaver based in from Rabboni Chabad in Eretz HaKodesh, a Rabbi Roshi of Chulon, a Rabbi Yechon Gorari, who will give us a Dvar Halacha, which, as we know, the words Ali Potter Mechaveri Elometev Dvar Halacha. The Teich of the Dvar Halacha will make the Telznis into a Hoylek, not Chas V'Shalom that will depart from us, like we said beforehand, but Faket, which will strengthen their connection with us. Distance today is not a problem, as we heard beforehand. Harab Rabbi.
We'll see if you'll time after I speak. I'm already in Etzisrael 31 years, and if I made it, I forgot my English. And I'm going to make a big effort to not to make mistakes. And please don't risk a lot of Tomshlan. The story, they say there was a Rav and a Chazan that came to a shul. We were invited to the Chazan to daven for the Yomid, the Rav to give a speech. The kids said the Rav to give a speech, the Chazan davened. Motzi Shabbos, the Rabbi came over to the Chazan and gave him $100 for the Chazanis. Then he goes over to the Rav, and he gives the Rav $200. So the Chazan, I don't understand. I davened Friday night, I davened Shabbos morning, I davened Musaf, I davened Mincha, I drank in the Torah, I did everything. $100. The Rav spoke 20 minutes, and he gets $200. It's not fair. So the Rabbi tells him, I'll tell you why. When you daven for the Yom of the Chazan, your face is to the wall. You don't see that whole Elam left in your davening. The Rav, when he speaks in front. The whole Elam, he sees them and they see him and they laugh in front of his face. The Midah, he has to get $200. There's a lot of pshatim, Harry Potter, Adam, Mechaveri, Elam Eter Dvar Halacha, Eter Kach Zocheyu. By davening it says, the same Gemara in Brachas, the Gemara says, as a person shouldn't start davening, Elam Eter Halacha Psuga. Not stam halacha, but halacha psuka. When it comes to al yiporet, al yiporet odom chaveri, elam mitoch ba halacha, not halacha psuka. Nichas Yitzchak writes in the Chuvas, he writes what's the difference, why by davening halacha psuka, and why by, when he departs from his friend, he says only halacha. He says by davening a person has to have kavanah. If he's going to have halacha that is not psuka, the whole davening is going to think about the halacha. But when it comes to say goodbye to his friend, and his friend should remember him, so it should be halacha that is not psuka, they should always remember one another. I'll first say the halacha, a shayla that I had, a few years ago. There was this Yid that lived in an apartment building in Cholam. He lived in an apartment building, and he was an elder Yid. And in the middle of the night, he felt that he has no breath, doesn't feel well, and he felt that I can't stop him. He has no breath, and he ran downstairs to his shochan. We'll call the shochan Yitzchak. His name was Yankov. Yankov goes down to Yitzchak and tells Yitzchak, knocks on the door, tells him, do me a favor, take me to the hospital. It's the middle of the night. Take me to the hospital. And this Yitzchak, this Yaakov, the shochan downstairs, he was a taxi driver. So they both ran down to the parking lot, and they went into the taxi, and he sped all the way to the hospital. The hospital is called Volkswagen Hospital. And he went home. This Yid that didn't feel well, this Yitzchak, he was in the hospital a few weeks till he recuperated, he came back to himself. And he came home. When he came home, the first thing he did before he walked into his house, he wanted to say thank you, to the person that saved his life, his shofar. Knocks on the door and he says, Yaakov, I want to thank you very much. What you did, Mamish, you were Mamish, not so lepish, ask me so, you let him pull it. Thank you very much again. So this Yaakov says, Yitzchak, you know that I'm a taxi driver, right? And you know that it costs from your house to the Boston hospital, it's about 15 or 20 shekel. Please pay me. This is Mr. Sugar. You saved my life. It's a big mitzvah. Mitzvah. I want money. And not only that, it was in the middle of the night. You weren't working. If you were working, you were staying. So he would make a few scrolling on the side here and there. But you didn't do anything. You were sleeping. What do you want? I want money. I took you. I'm a taxi driver. This is my job, and I want you to pay me. We kicked them zum geschlagen mit den Zeiten, till they came to ask the Shaila was open. To make it short, there's a din in Shulchan Aruch, the Sma, Shulchan Aruch Mefesh Mishpat. There was this Yid that he was, actually what he did, I don't know exactly what he was put into a pit. It was a jail, like a Yosef. And he was in the pit after a long time, till one night he managed to run away. And he ran. Where did he run? He ran to the border of his country, and he wanted to go over from one side to the other country, over the border. Because on the other side of the other country, they couldn't catch him. And he knew that if every second is mamish is because nefesh, because the police are going to find out that he ran away, they're going to kill him. You can say he came to the border, but the border wasn't a regular border. It was a border, it was a nachal, a atachel between. And he came to the border and he looked around, he wanted somebody to take him over to the other side. It's like in Venezia, there's these, how's it called? Canal. No, $10, the taxi. He was looking around, maybe a Yid, because he knew that if he'll tell a guy that he ran away, he'll give him over to the police. They found the Yid. They told him, do me a favor, take me over to the other side. And he took him over to the other side. After he went to the other side, the guy says, give me geld, pay for it. He says, pay you shvuin. You know what you did? That's like, I said, mitzvah. He says, mitzvah, I want to pay me. But you weren't working. You're supposed to build an eye. You didn't have no customers. And the smart paskins that he has to pay. Why? Because this was his business. This was his job. Derech Hagav, when I learned in the yeshiva in Ocean Park 1 year, and because of the Schwarze from Kronheitz to Flatbush, my parents didn't want to marry. All our parents didn't want to. We should go by night. So they used to give us a car. We should drive to the yeshiva. There was a parking sign that says no parking. We used to park. In the morning, a ticket. Next morning, a ticket. I guess it's a bunch of tickets, and Mama should go right a safe out. Kids, one day, we get a letter from the court, we have to come to court. The whole class marched into court. We're sitting in court. It's the first time and the last time it was in court. I'm sitting in court, and you hear a different case. In front of you hear the judge was a Yid. His name was Judge Cohen. And there's a Yid over there that he's a taxi driver in Queens, and he brought a woman that arrived to Kennedy Airport. He brought her home with the luggage, with all the schmatters, and she brought her home. Kitzel, this elderly lady, so when he came to her house, he parked in front of a hydrant. You're not allowed to park in front of a hydrant. He opened the luggage, takes out the schmatters, and he helps her bring it into the house. She brings it into the house, and he comes out a second later, and take it. The kid says, he lost a Yid. So he tells the Judge Cohen, they told him mitzvah. And I'm going to speak ticket. I'm the mitzvah. So the judge said, he says, mitzvah, upstairs, you're going to have a galeen, here you're going to pay. Mitzvah. Kids, for me, it's a very big excitement. There's excitement l'tev and excitement the opposite. On one side, I'm very, very happy that my chaver, a real good chaver of mine, is getting a rabbonis, a lot more choshev rabbonis than he has over here in England. That's the reason why he's going to it. Okay. On the second side, he's coming to rabbonis from a Lubavitcher Kehillah. He doesn't know what a Lubavitcher Kehillah is. I told Rabbi Telsner, after this whole taste on the shoulder and everybody's kissing you and liking you and you could stay here. Kids, a lot of years, I'm a chaver, a real good chaver, Rabbi Telsner, with the family. Rabbi Telsner was a friend of my sister, and together in one class. And there's so much to say. You could speak a whole night of my life, but we don't make explaining. So I'm not going to make a hesped, but I really feel, even though I live in Israel, I live in London, but I still going to Australia is something that faces for this. It's a Me'ever Layam. So that's why, actually, I want to mention that you should have Atzlocha in Gashmis, Atzlocha in Ruchnis. You shouldn't have no Minyas Vikuvim. First of all, everybody should be celebrating that he's our Ohov, our Brias, of Lamailo, of Lamato, and I'm sure that he's going to have Atzlocha. And I want to wish him and his Rebbetzin, and I want to say another vote, that we don't talk in the Rof on the Berg, Rav Telsner, the Meister, you know, our Rebbetzin Telsner. And the Rebbetzin Telsner is also with the children. There's a Gemara in Ksubis, Reception Ksubis, the Gemara tells such a story. There was Mar Ukve. Mar Ukve had a minig that every day he used to go to the Bismedrish, and after he finished learning the Bismedrish, he used to come home. On the way, he used to put in, there was a Raman that lived not far from his house, and he used to put into the hole of the door, he used to put 4 zuz. 4 zuz means 4 pennies. Every day that was a minute. he didn't want that the shochan, this poor person, should know who he is. He used to come go fast, put it in, and run away. Because the Matan B'Seitzer is the biggest mitzvah. One day, he came, he didn't come. His wife was waiting for him, waiting, and the other day he didn't come home. So she went to the Mismedrash to see if everything was okay with him. She went to the Mismedrash, she said, yeah. Because he learned with the Talmidim, but it's a learning, it's a guessing. He didn't look at the time. So she walked back with him, back home. And he liked his minhag every day. He wanted to go to the shochan and put in the 4 zuz. This shochan, for a long time, we wanted to see who's this seed that puts every day the 4 zuz. So he hid behind the house or back a tree. Baruch saw him, that he's hiding there. So he took his wife's hand, and I told him later. He didn't want that the shochan should see who it is. They wanted to run away, they shouldn't catch them. And there was a budke, that's a budke means a small little booth, where in those days there was no heating. There was no heating, so they had, in the winter, he used to cut the trees, and put coals on the floor, and put the wood on the coals, and he used to warm up, and then you could heat the house with the wood. The kids, they both ran, and in those days they didn't go with shoes, went barefoot. Both the kids are running, and they both went into this budke, this shack, and went onto them. Told him, Baruch, his feet started to burn. Told him his own haste. And his wife, she made a nest. What's a nest? Her feet were cold. The mother says that she put her foot on his foot to cool off his foot. So the mother asks, what's going on here? She said, and he said, I go every day, put tzedakah, and no nest happened. You came with me one time, you came with me, and Eibusha made your nest, and your feet stayed cold, and my feet started to go on haste. So she told him, I'll tell you the difference between me and you. When a man, you give tzedakah to this other man, you give a shekel or a penny, whatever much it is. This guy has to go to the bank, he has to change the money, and then he goes to the store, and he buys, and after he brings it home, and you have to cook it, till it comes, till it comes to our man, once it comes, knocks on the door and wants to eat, this our man, since he starts eating, the stomach can always get. There's a Rashba, the Rabbi writes in Siman Yudches, why don't you make a bracha on tzedakah? So the Rabbi writes that the reason you don't make a bracha on tzedakah because it's totally 2 people. It could be that the Osher wants to give the money, but the Alman doesn't want to take the money. The same thing is Shalach Manis. Why Shalach Manis you don't make a bracha? It's a mitzvah. Because it could be he wants to give Shalach Manis, but the other person doesn't want to take the Shalach Manis. But I saw in the Sefer, it's called Beis B'Shulam and Chuvas, he writes over there on the bottom, he writes over there, for us machmish kibroch, he says like a balavatish pshat. Why don't you make a bracha on the tzedakah? He says, talking about Chavoch Baruch, mit Kavod Baruch, Hashem Bizet, endlich die bracha, and it's the Roman with Stam. She told him, till the money that you give is put in this 4 zuz, you put into the honeycomb, to the hole, till he starts eating, the Shabbat can always give him. When our man comes, knocks on the door, I right away take out the tepel and I give him right away to eat. So my schus is bigger than your schus. My tzedakah is bigger than your tzedakah. What I want to say is, a lot of people, this I saw with my fleishik knocked on the door, Rabbi Telsner's house, and Rabbi Telsner takes out bread, and a lot of, this is mamish, the chesed, the real chesed, and her schus could be, if you don't mind Rabbi Telsner, her schus is bigger than your schus. So we finish off the drasha with Yitra Kodesh Baruch Hu, Shem Hatzlocha Rabbe, und Florian, mit Hashem, wir sollen sich weiter, sollen sich mit Reden, Ali Poet oder Mechaver, Tach, Dvar Aloche. The Rebbe writes that there's no such thing as two Chaverim, das ist abgehen sich eine vom Zweiten. Every Yid ist verbunden mit der Zweiten Yiden, und durch Halache, durch Ruchnis, wir sind verbunden mit dem Sinnes, mit dem Reben, mit Igris von Reben, mit alle Teres von Reben, und ich so gerne, der Rebbe soll sich umkehren, soll sich uns zusammen, und man soll sich alle gehen, kriegen wir Scherz, und kennen wir Herr, wir Amen.
Famous story. Stories of Rabbi Telsner. It's a known story. Most of us know it. Rabbi Telsner lived in a place where there was a mikveh at the top of a hill. In the winter, it became very icy there, and people couldn't really go up the hill, but Rabbi Telsner managed to get up the hill without any problem. Everybody else had to go the long way round. A couple of Bochrim tried to go up the hill, and they fell, and they broke their legs. So they asked Rabbi, how did he manage to get up the hill? So Rabbi said, I'll say it in Yiddish and then translate it into English. He says, Meirel is verbunden von eben, der Pfarrer fällt nicht darauf unten. He says, Meirel, he's referring to himself, is connected to the above, and therefore he doesn't fall below. The theme of the story is obviously Bittul. The Mayor used to refer to him to himself in the third person, and being connected to the above is also an Indian of Bittul. I just want to remind Rabbi Tzvi Hirsch about something he told me about, I think it was 23 years ago when he first came to Golders Green. He used to stay with us Shabbos before he bought a house in Golders Green. One thing that he found very, very difficult was that every time he had to get up to go to the bathroom, he got a standing ovation. He found that very difficult to take. Anyway, we're making a presentation of a picture which is in itself the Indian from Bittul, which is a picture of the Fabrengen.
Okay, we can't see.
Over the years, I had discussed to learn with Rabbi Friday nights, that's with myself, whoever else turned up. And we noticed that there's no, or there are very few pictures of the Rebbe in his house. And we decided that this would be something special. In addition to this, and let me just read the inscription, which we haven't yet put on the picture, but it reads like this. Le'ois hukra v'yedidus, ukora v'yedidus, u'lemaskeres netzach, v'yedideinu ois, harav Tzvi Hirsch, u'moris Miriam Blumer, she'yifyu Telsner. Me'eis yedidchem ha'ne'emodim, v'ir London Choyref Tovshin Samach Zayin. Translated into English, it's as an everlasting remembrance or to our very great friend Rabbi Tzvi Hirsch and Miriam Telsner, from your dear friends in London, England, in the winter of Tovshin Samach Zayin. We are also presenting them
with 10 mezuzahs, because we want them every time they go in and out of their house to remember their friends in London. Five of these mezuzahs have we commissioned from a close friend, and the other five are a little smaller. And Yirtzeh Hashem, we are hoping that we will all be together very, very soon with this Galus of Melech HaMashiach, Malkeinu V'Rosheinu. Amen.
That we organized, that I am usually the guy that does the appeal. How many of you have your checkbooks in your kapotes? Hands up. First of all, Rabbi Harari spoke about making a bracha on a mitzvah, and when again the mitzvah of tzedakah. And the Gemara in Taka brings a story, and one of the reasons of the Svaris, there was a story about one of the Tanoim that made a bracha with Kavanah when he was about to give tzedakah, and by the time he made with such Kavanah, the Oni collapsed from hunger. So it reminded me of the story of a Brisker Yid. He came out of Yeshiva 100 years ago, and he made his way back for Pesach to the old shtetl. And he's traveling in the forest, and as the story goes, the bandit gets hold of him and comes towards him with a knife. And this Yid that comes from Brisk, he's machmer and all the mitzvahs, and he realizes that his breathing is last, and he starts to say, Baruch, Ata, Hashem, he starts to shout the bracha, Asher Kiddushono b'mitzvaysa v'tzivono al Kiddush Hashem. In the meantime, the murderer got so frightened and so scared that he ran off. And he stands and he says, no, bracha levatvoda. The last person I know that was brave enough to make the pilgrimage and the trip to Australia, he traveled the 26 hours, he got on the British Airways flight, and via Singapore, and gets off and waits 4 hours and gets onto the other plane that takes him all the way. I think it's Qantas, the co-chairs with British Airways, One World. And he gets to Australia and he comes through to immigration. And the immigration officer, amongst the questions he asks him, do you have a criminal record? And he said, why? Do we still need one of those to come here? My dear friends, every good book, at the end of it has a glossary and an appendix. My book also started with an appendix. Not finished with an appendix, but started with an appendix. And I'll tell you as follows. We had the good fortune of living 146 Stamford Hill, across the street, Beis Lubavitch. And many years ago, I remember looking out of my window and seeing the bus leave to the airport. If you remember, Baruch Futafas used to arrange the charters to the United States, and they always had 10, 12 spare seats, and my parents went on one of these flights. £50 it costed. And I'll never forget, many times I looked out my window and saw the atmosphere of this coach leaving to the airport on the way to one of these charters. And my parents had the good fortune of going into Yechidus at the time, because that was one of the perks, one of the benefits of traveling on this flight. And my parents told the Rebbe that we live across the street, Beis Lubavitch, 146 Stamford Hill. Look out our front door and we see Beis Lubavitch. And the Rebbe told them that this is, besides being a schus, it's also a chayiv, and it says chayiv. If you live across the street, Beis Lubavitch, it's a commitment as well. And my father, when he talks to everybody else, he says, "How did your son get involved with the Lubavitch?" And he says, "Oile Shcheina." And when he meets the Lubavitcher, he says, "Now listen, the Rebbe told me to be committed to Lubavitch, and I gave him my son." But because we lived across the street, Beis Lubavitch, on Simchas Torah, after we did our covers in shul, and after we went home and had our meal and our rest and everything else, we used to go across the street to Beis Lubavitch, to our covers, to see to lange Yom, Mr. Tiefenbrunn, so gesund sein, stark sein. I don't know how that herring got over the other end of the hall into Mr. Glick, Oliver Scholz's face. So that was the fact. And in one of these trips, I never used to see this man with the bright red beard. I never noticed him before. And I found out later that that was the exception. That year he was Simchas Torah in Beis Lubavitch, because he used to travel every year to the Rebbe Simchas Torah. But that year his wife was very choshev that Rebbetzin happened to be not well. She had an appendix operation. And that is how it all came about, that Rabbi Telsner had to be in London for Simchas Torah Nebuch. And when I walked into Beis Lubavitch, and the reaction and the impression of this young man with the bright red beard that Rabbi Dubov was talking about, this was in Tafshin Lametes 29 years ago, or 28 years ago, a few years before you, I got there first. And I'll tell you what he said to me. Actually, I won't, because probably half of you will walk out of the room. I won't tell you what he said to me, but the impression and the impact that he had on me at that point was the beginning of my life. And I want to give thanks to the Eibishter for this opportunity the Eibishter gave me. This was my entrance into whatever they say. At that point I found out about the Shir Tanya in Gateshead, and the rest is history. But I'd like to say the following, that first of all, we started the Shir Chassidus after that when I came to London, and Mrs. Telsner will know that we learned every day, an hour and a half. Now when I say every day, I mean every day. I mean an hour after the Dikas Chometz, I was there. And we learned together, to your enjoyment, we learned together. After the second night Seder, we were there. After the Purim Suda, we learned Chassidus together. And this was something special that there was, I was a kid of 17. I didn't feel that I was, how many, Dikas Chometz now. I'd like to verify how many of you sit down and learn Chassidus, but this was something special. And I'd like to offer the following verse. I'd like to say that Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov are known as the Ovis, and Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah as the Imois. They could have been called Manhigim. They could have been called Royim, which they do in certain cases. They could have been called Meyazdim. but no, they are known as Ovis and Limois. And maybe to suggest that Chassidus explains that the Ave of a father to a son, the Sheidish and Moker comes from, Chassidus explains, the Sheidish and Moker to that is the Ni B'Chaydi Yisrael, the Noi Yechidesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Kesher of the Eibusher with the Yid. That is the Sheidish and Moker to the Ave Atzmis of a father to a son. And this was what was most prominent about the Oves, was the fact that they were our fathers, Oves and Talibshaft, Afshaft, and our mothers in Mois. And I'd like to suggest that when the Pasuk says, Va'era el Avram, el Yitzchak, el Yaakov, the Gilui and the Kus, which they received, and Rashi explains al Ha'oves. And I'd like to suggest that maybe because this is the point that Rashi is making, the love, the Liebschaft, from the Oves, like a father to children, and a mother to her children. And this was what Rashi is moised by saying, Va'era el Ha'oves, that this was, besides, on top of everything else, that the Gilui Elokus that they had, and the Gilui Elokus that they received in previous times was the Yesoid to this Ave and the Liebschaft of Oves to children. And I'd like to say that besides everything, of course, the many activities that the Telsners, Rabbi and Mrs. Telsner, and the many activities that they have their hand in countless. And I believe that these are things that many of us sitting in this room, we should be approaching the Telsners and saying, I'll take on one of your shiurim, I'll take on one of your orchim, and please, Taka, take this to heart. You're sitting in this room, Hashkafa Pratis. Everybody can take a little chunk of the activities of the Telsners, and I suggest that in the next month, every one of you should be approaching them and seeing if you could take a little bite of their activities. But the thing that we will most miss about them is the Ave and the tremendous affection and the enthusiasm that is infused in us, and the whole effect that they have on the environment. And this is something which we will not lose. Because this is something, this friendship, this deep Ava Atzmis is something that no seas and no distant lands can separate from us. A Yid, a Chassid, doesn't live in London, doesn't live in Stamford Hill, doesn't live in Golders Green, doesn't live in Australia. A Chassid lives in Lubavitch. And a Chassid lives in his activities and his environment and his discussions to the Rebbe and his chayvus and his pa'ulas that he has to the Rebbe. And we cannot be separated from this affection and this ava and achva. Yes, the pa'ulas we will miss, and amongst us, 150 of us in this room, we will all chip in and take on and try and make up for this. And the ava and the achva and the shalom and the vereos that we have to you, this will never leave us. No distant country can separate us. We did not call this event tonight to say some shalom. However much we really feel and we wanted to be together with you, but the one thing that goes beyond that is, besides the good that we have together and being together, the one thing that's special, that we care about you and we wanted what was good and best for you. And everyone in this room felt that this was a step up for you, and you will be Matzliach, you're going further and deeper into the Avodas HaKodesh and the Shlichus of the Rebbe, and this will inevitably be Nachas Ruach to the Rebbe. This is something that all of us together with you have an interest in, and there's only one thing left for us to tell you, and that is like this.
No, it's going to come. It's off? Off, I turned it off.